genres together, I was thinking about an episode of Hoarders, a scene from the Disney cartoon Cinderella, and the emerging market in the real world of the companion robots. So what do these things all have in common? First off, there's an episode of Hoarders that always bothered me. Even I think it's probably 10 or 20 years old. I don't know, but it's always bothered me, and it stayed in the back of my head as almost like a warning that even the people close to you that claim they're trying to help you will publicly shame and humiliate you. You know, if you do something they don't like or they see as, you know, whatever. Anyways, there's an episode where it's an old man in Hoarders, and he's, you know, buried alive in his house like most of the people on the show, and his two elderly sisters, you know, are gonna be on the show to help, you know, clean out his house. So you think like, oh, that's nice, these elderly women are gonna help their elderly brother, you know, from his hoarding situation. But one of the most standout shocking moments for me anyways was when they found basically a sex toy in the house, and instead of like trying to protect their brother's, you know, face, you know, save face, they instead like basically waved it around and publicly humiliated him on national television, or like, you know, trying to make him feel bad about himself, like, you like this, you know, what is wrong with you, blah blah blah. And even when I first saw it years and years ago, I was like, dude, this is an old man who probably hasn't had any contact with human life in decades. He's dying, buried alone in his house, and he probably has the smallest, you know, item of pleasure for himself while he's not bothering anybody, and you're going to come into his house and publicly shame him near the end of his life for doing something for himself. And it always just was like, I always felt like that was a really terrible, shitty thing to do to an old man, you know, who had been basically abandoned by all of humanity. But anyways, so then there's a scene in the movie Cinderella where Cinderella is locked away by herself, so she can't go to the dance and she doesn't have a dress. And, you know, with her birds and mice make-believe friends, she makes a dress for herself. And this one is more about like female rage, and the fact that the sisters, you know, the evil stepsisters, come in, see that she has access to a dress, and literally, like, instead of tearing their own hair out in absolute fury and rage, they just tear her to shreds. And because it's a Disney flick, they just tear her clothing apart. But in real life, they would have literally torn her, you know, she would have been bloodied and scratched and torn all to hell, probably bleeding to death on the ground. But, you know, because it's a Disney cartoon, they just shredded her dress, you know, tore everything off of her and left her on the ground, shattered. So that's female rage. So the reason these two things come to mind is the emerging market I've been watching, where, you know, everyone's talking about AI and everyone's talking about love bots, and when these two things get combined, like, is it going to replace women? And there's all these movies coming out, you know, TV shows, movies, where it's like, oh, there's a love bot that's supposed to help the mom do dishes, and she turns out to, you know, love the husband and blah blah blah. So it's like, you know, that's the sci-fi genre that's being wrapped around this emerging market of technology. But I thought about these two other scenarios, and like, what do they have to do? It's when women, whether it's elderly women with their brother or evil stepsisters in a cartoon, when they see something that takes their place, basically. And I think about all these movies where it's like the robot, you know, turns evil and attacks everybody. It's like, dude, that's not what's going to happen. What's going to happen is actual women, old or young, that are going to see something as a threat and absolutely lose their mind. And instead of tearing out their own hair in fury and rage, they're going to attack and destroy these things. So I feel the sci-fi genre, you know, talking about, oh, AI is going to attack us, or it's going to be, you know, Skynet or blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, it's going to be, the most likely thing is you're going to see women attacking these robots you know, because they don't want to be replaced. So, anyways, that's my take on it. Let me know what you think.